That inexplicable tug towards something you can't quite grasp? A conviction deep in your bones, a memory that feels alien to this lifetime, yet it resides within you. It weaves through your dreams, speaks in the hush of your quietest moments, and reverberates through the chambers of your heart like a melody you have known forever. What if this sensation is more than mere fantasy? What if it is a profound communication from your soul, a signal that this is not your inaugural journey here? According to Edgar Cayce, one of the most influential seers of the 20th century, your soul possesses an antiquity far greater than you imagine. Through thousands of trance readings, he detailed past lives, spiritual families, karmic bonds, and divine blueprints that are etched across the fabric of countless lifetimes. He held that the soul does not simply cease to exist, it persists, it learns, it returns, and it remembers. If this is true, then you have almost certainly carried imprints of those other existences with you into this one. You just haven't always possessed the tools to identify them. But now, you will. The signs are there. Some are as subtle as a whisper, others as deafeningly clear as thunder, and once you start to perceive them, your view of reality will be forever changed. Have you ever walked into a place for the very first time and been overcome with a feeling of returning home? Perhaps it was a cobblestone street in a European city you've never visited, a monastery nestled in the Asian highlands, or a sun-scorched desert landscape in a land foreign to you. In this life, you had never been there, yet the instant your feet met the earth, something stirred deep within you, a sense of belonging that defied all logic. You didn't merely appreciate it, you recognized it. This is not just a fluke. This is soul memory. Edgar Cayce termed it vibrational recognition, a profound response that occurs when your soul re-encounters something intimately familiar, a land it once cherished, a dialect it once spoke, a culture it once embraced as its own. And this phenomenon doesn't end with places. Consider the people you meet, those who feel like an instant kinship. The friend who seems to understand your silences. The stranger whose gaze awakens something in you so profound it almost frightens you. They enter your life, and it feels as though you have known them for eternity. There is no need to painstakingly build trust, it is already present, solid and ancient. These are not arbitrary connections. Cayce taught that souls often travel in clusters, reuniting across various lifetimes to evolve, to grow, and to mend past wounds together. You might label them as friends, partners, mentors, or even adversaries. But beneath the surface of these roles, they are your spiritual companions. You have shared this cosmic dance before, in different forms, with different names, but always to the same sacred underlying rhythm. Sometimes, the evidence of your past lives resides in your inherent gifts. That violin you picked up and played with an intuition that bypassed formal lessons. The complex foreign language that felt less like an arduous study and more like a simple act of remembering. A skill that felt more like an awakening than an acquisition. You have possessed these talents before, in lives long since past. Perhaps you were once a philosopher, a shaman, an artisan, or a mariner. The core essence of those existences remains dormant within your soul's DNA, waiting for the opportune moment, the right incarnation, to blossom once more. And when it does, it feels like a form of magic, like you have finally truly inhabited your own skin. However, just as the gifts resurface, so too do the shadows. There are fears you harbor that seem to defy all rational explanation. An unshakable dread of deep water, even though you've never had a near-drowning experience. A terror of fire, of confined spaces, of being forsaken, with no specific trauma in this life to anchor it. And yet, the fear feels ancient, a primal echo from beyond the scope of reason. Cayce explained these as soul wounds, energetic echoes of unresolved pain from prior lives, like a scar upon the spirit that follows you across the veil. And until these wounds are seen, felt, and healed, they persist, not as a form of punishment, but as sacred invitations. Invitations to illuminate what was once lost in the darkness. Have you ever awoken from a dream that felt less like a product of your mind and more like a tangible memory? A dream so rendered with impossible clarity and detail that it felt more real than your waking hours? Perhaps you were someone else in another era in a distant land, but it was still somehow fundamentally you. The soul communicates through symbols, through visions, and through the landscape of dreams. When the conscious mind is at rest, the subconscious archives are opened, and it remembers. These are not merely dreams. They are glimpses, portals, and flashbacks to the myriad journeys your soul has undertaken before. And you, my friend, are beginning to remember. It's there in your tenderness, your profound sensitivity, that beautiful and sometimes painful ache in your chest. When you witness someone else's sorrow or see a stranger stumble, you feel things with an intensity that others might deem excessive. But that is only because you have lived through countless lifetimes of love and loss, of birth and death. You have felt the agony of conflict, the bliss of reunion, and the vast hollow echo of separation. This profound empathy is not a flaw, it is a testament. You have walked this earth before, in different skin and under different constellations.
Endure sous le remembert every joy and every sorrow.
That is why you feel everything with such depth. That is why your heart breaks open for people you have never met. And perhaps that is why you have always felt an inexorable pull toward the spiritual path. While others find contentment in surface-level answers, you crave something more profound. The books you are drawn to, the questions that haunt you, the deep longing you feel when you gaze at the night sky and ask, what is the purpose of all this? This is not a fleeting phase or a simple curiosity. It is a remembrance, a pull toward something ancient and sacred within you. It is a thirst that cannot be slaked by dogma or doctrine, but only by direct, personal experience. You are not merely seeking answers, you are seeking a profound reconnection, to the divine, to your purpose, and to the eternal part of yourself. Perhaps you have also observed how life seems to circle you through the same challenges, the same types of relationships, the same heartaches, and the same lessons dressed in new attire. That is not a flaw in the fabric of your reality, it is karma. Not in the simplistic punitive way the word is often used, but in its true, esoteric sense.
Karma à memory. Karma à infini d'énergie.
Karma as a divine opportunity to rewrite the script. Edgar Cayce believed that every single challenge is a message from the soul, an invitation to shatter a cycle, to evolve, and to consciously choose a different path. When you find yourself ensnared in these repeating patterns, it is not because you are broken. It is because something deeper is desperately trying to command your attention. Your soul is not punishing you, it is reminding you. And at times, that reminder manifests as a number, a pattern, or a symbol that seems to follow you everywhere you turn. You glance at your phone, and it's 11:11. You pass license plates with repeating digits like 333 or 444. You see a specific animal, a hawk, a dragonfly, in the most unexpected of places. These are not mere coincidences. They are synchronistic signposts, winks from the spiritual realm designed to awaken you, to compel you to ask, why do I keep encountering this? It is because your soul is communicating, and it is time for you to start listening. Think of the stories of prodigies, a young man who, without any formal instruction, began to compose and play concert-level classical music, or a woman named Maria who had recurring visions of complex herbal remedies and ancient symbols, and later became a gifted energy healer who swore she was simply remembering what she already knew. You may not possess a story quite so dramatic, but reflect for a moment. What have you always instinctively known how to do? Perhaps it's a gift for gardening, an intuitive understanding of animals, a natural talent for comforting the dying, or the ability to speak a language that feels like it belongs on your tongue. These are not accidents, they are echoes. The soul does not forget its passions, its crafts, or its sacred roles. It carries them forward, hiding them in your fingertips, your instincts, and your deepest joys, awaiting the right moment to reawaken them. And if the gifts travel forward, so do the wounds. Have you ever been gripped by a fear that makes no logical sense? An overwhelming terror of falling, though you've never had a serious fall? A phobia of fire, or of being trapped, or of being abandoned. You have not lived the trauma in this life, but the terror is visceral, inescapable, and seemingly irrational. Cayce described these phobias as unhealed soul scars, residue from traumatic events in previous incarnations that were never fully processed. That fear latches onto your spirit and follows you into the next lifetime, not to torment you, but to finally be healed. So if you feel a panic rising when you're in a crowd or a deep anxiety when left alone, ask yourself, what is this fear attempting to show me? Perhaps you were betrayed. Perhaps you were exiled. Perhaps you were broken. But you are not in that lifetime anymore. And now, you have the opportunity to bring compassion to what once brought you profound pain. Healing, Cayce taught, is remembering with love. Sometimes, your remembering begins in the dreamscape. Dreams are not just psychological debris, they are messages, mirrors, and at times memories. You have had them, those dreams that shake you to your core. Not nightmares, but experiences that feel utterly real. You walk through the streets of a city that does not exist on any modern map, yet you know every corner. You converse in a language you have never studied, yet it flows from your lips with perfect ease. You see yourself not as you are, but as someone else, dressed in the garb of another era, living an entirely different life. You awaken, and the feeling lingers, that sense of something significant, something you did not invent, something you return to. In Cayce's view, sleep is the soul's gentlest doorway, and the dream world is a vast library of all your incarnations. If you pay attention, it will show you what you came here to remember. The whispers of memory do not shout, they echo. They pull. And when you manage to quiet the relentless chatter of the mind, the soul begins to speak. You will feel it in places that make your heart swell with an unnamed emotion. You will see it in the eyes of people who cross your path at precisely the right moment. You will sense it in the way your hands move when you create, write, heal, or build. You will hear it in the fears that rattle your bones and in the dreams that call your name across the ages. You are not imagining things, you are remembering. And the more you lean into those whispers, the more you trust their validity, the louder and clearer they will become. You are not just a body, not just a mind, not just this name, this face, this story. You are a soul. And your story spans centuries. You have been here before. You have held the hands of the dying. You have lost children. You have witnessed war, healed the wounded, fed the hungry, and prayed through countless lifetimes of both agony and beauty. Your heart remembers. And now in this lifetime, you may not comprehend why you feel so much, but your soul does. You returned with a mission, not just to observe the world's pain, but to love it through that pain. Empathy is not something you learn, it is something you have earned. And it walks hand in hand with another quality you may have noticed in yourself, that unshakable wisdom, the kind that does not originate from books. From a young age, you asked the questions that made adults shift uncomfortably. Why do people deceive each other? Where do we go when we die? Why do I feel like I don't truly belong here? And the conventional answers never felt sufficient. Because deep down, you already knew something more. You spoke with a startling clarity, you comforted people far older than you, and you understood complex human dynamics long before you had experienced them yourself. You weren't trying to be wise, you simply were wise, because you have been here before. Cayce referred to these as old souls, beings who have walked the earth numerous times and carry within them the hard-won wisdom of those journeys. It is not about intellect or chronological age, it is about resonance. An old soul knows when someone is being deceptive, not because they have studied psychology, but because they have witnessed deception in countless forms. An old soul knows how to hold space for grief, not because they have read about it, but because they have carried it across centuries. So if you have always felt older than your years, you are not imagining it. You are. And chances are, you have also felt a profound draw to ancient worlds. There is a reason the history of Rome calls to you, or why Celtic symbols feel strangely familiar. There is a reason you are fascinated with Egyptian mysteries or Gregorian chants or Mesoamerican ruins. Why ancient traditions feel like a dream you have half forgotten. These are not random interests, they are soul cues. They are fragments of memory from civilizations your soul once walked among. You may have been a philosopher in Athens, a scribe in Alexandria, a monk in the Himalayas, or a seer in a forgotten land. Cayce's readings spoke frequently of cultural memory, the idea that a soul's environment leaves an indelible energetic imprint. And when you encounter it again, even across the chasm of time, your soul responds not with memory in the brain, but with a deep resonance in the body. You feel it in your spine, in your heartbeat, in the way your eyes linger on symbols you have never formally studied but somehow intrinsically know. It is why you have always had a curious relationship with knowledge. While others needed to be pushed toward learning, you have always chased it. But not just any knowledge. You were drawn to the mystical, the metaphysical, the great mystery of existence itself. You were never satisfied with textbook facts, you wanted to know what lay beyond the veil. You read about energy, past lives, consciousness and intuition, not because someone instructed you to, but because your soul was remembering its own path. This is not your first spiritual awakening, it is your return. Cayce believed that every soul is on a journey back to its source, and along the way, each soul revisits familiar teachings, like breadcrumbs left across lifetimes, guiding you back home. You may have studied these truths as a mystic in one life and returned as a scientist in the next, but the core teachings themselves are timeless. And if you have ever felt like a spiritual loner, like the only one in your family or circle of friends who is drawn to the divine, it is because your soul has simply remembered more, and sooner. You are not lost, you are ahead. And yet, there is a price that often comes with remembering, a quiet ache, an unshakable longing, a persistent feeling that no matter how full your life becomes, something fundamental is missing. You have searched for it in relationships, in careers, in places, and in philosophies, but it always remains just beyond your grasp. That homesick feeling, that divine melancholy that drifts through you in the quiet moments, it is not depression. It is the soul's nostalgia. It is a longing for a home that is not on any map, a home you knew intimately before this incarnation.
Before the name you carry now, before this body, before all the noise of the world.
You remember a love that did not require words. You remember a peace that did not require protection. You remember a connection to something infinite, something that felt lost the moment you took your first breath in this life. And though you have learned to live here, a part of you has never stopped yearning for there. Cayce described this as the cry of the soul for its origin, a homesickness not of place, but of state. Your true home is not a location, it is a frequency, a state of consciousness. And when your soul has touched it before, even for a moment, nothing else in this world ever feels entirely complete again. That is why you ache for meaning. That is why you hunger for stillness. That is why no possession, no accolade, no worldly achievement can ever truly satisfy you. Because your soul does not want more things, it wants more remembering. You did not come here to escape that longing. You came here to follow it. Because within that ache lies the truth. And in that truth lies your return. And maybe deep down, a question has begun to echo through you: why does this keep happening to me? It is not the universe punishing you. It is not fate trying to break you. It is your soul striving to awaken you. Edgar Cayce described karma not as a cosmic system of punishment, but as memory in motion, the soul carrying forward the energy of choices made and lessons left unlearned. And until that energy is seen, acknowledged, and healed, it will repeat, not to trap you, but to set you free. Every recurring challenge is a spiritual mirror, inviting you to respond differently than you did before. It may manifest as a constant battle with self-worth, a persistent pattern of financial scarcity, or the same kind of betrayal disguised in new relationships. These are not isolated, random events. They are sacred invitations. Your soul keeps drawing the same storyline because it remembers something you consciously do not, a decision once made in fear, an old vow that needs to be broken, a truth you were once too afraid to live. You are not cursed, you are being given another chance. Perhaps the most revealing clue of all lies in your relationships. Have you noticed how you are drawn to certain types of people, again and again? Maybe it is romantic partners who wound you in strikingly similar ways, or friendships that begin with an intense flame and end in ashes of abandonment. Maybe you consistently attract people who need rescuing, or people who make you feel small, or people who reflect the very wound you have spent your entire life trying to heal. It feels mysterious and frustrating, but it is not. It is karma. Not in the Hollywood sense of instant justice, but in the deeper spiritual sense of unresolved emotional energy. Cayce's readings taught that souls frequently reincarnate together to resolve unfinished dynamics, to heal betrayals, repay acts of love, and rewrite stories that once ended in pain. That is why the connection feels so intense, so fated. Because it is. Your soul remembers them, even if your conscious mind does not. And when that memory rises to the surface, it often comes in the form of a profound magnetic attraction, not just romantic, but energetic. Like two magnets being pulled together across time, not for comfort, but for transformation. Because until that cycle is completed, it will keep showing up. But you are not just stuck in a loop, you are surrounded by signs. You have noticed them.
The number, the symbol, the synchronicity that follow you like a gentle nudge from the universe.
11:11 on the clock. 2:22 on a license plate. A feather appearing on your path at a pivotal moment. A song that always plays at the exact moment you need to hear its message. These are not random occurrences. They are soul codes, spiritual breadcrumbs designed to activate your memory, to remind you that you are on a path, and that this path has not been forgotten by the deeper parts of you. Cayce described these signs as awakening triggers, ways your higher self communicates with your waking mind when mere words will not suffice. They are reminders that you are not lost, that something ancient and wise within you is guiding the way. And for some of you, that guidance takes on a very specific form. You are pulled toward healing, not just for yourself, but for others. You may have felt this impulse even as a child, that innate need to help, that shared pain when someone else is suffering, that intuitive knowing of how to comfort, how to soothe, how to see someone in their entirety. You might have become a nurse, a therapist, a spiritual teacher, or an artist whose work heals others. Or perhaps your healing gifts manifest in quieter ways. The way your presence calms a chaotic room, the way animals instinctively trust you, the way people confide their deepest secrets to you without understanding why. This is not a skill you learned, it is a role you have played before. In lifetime after lifetime, you have been the midwife, the shaman, the herbalist, the priestess, the soul guide. You have walked beside death. You have held sacred space for rebirth. You have prayed over the sick and whispered truth into the ears of the forgotten. And in this life, that calling has returned. Because being a healer is not just what you do, it is who you are. Your soul carries the memory of sacred service, of healing wounds you did not cause, of helping others return to wholeness even as you carried your own pain in silence. And now, the world needs that energy again. That is why you feel it in your very bones, why you cannot ignore the pull. Sometimes, that pull reveals itself in mysterious ways, like memories that do not seem to belong to you. You might experience flashes of events you have never lived, visions of moments, emotions, or even physical sensations that appear without warning. You know the smell of a rain-soaked battlefield you have never walked. You weep during a documentary about an ancient culture, not because the story is sad, but because it feels like a forgotten home. Some of these moments may be echoes from your own past lives. Others may be ancestral. Because your soul is not an isolated entity, it is woven into a vast tapestry, connected to the bloodlines and beings you have journeyed with for centuries. And sometimes, you are called to heal not only your own wounds, but also the ones passed down through your lineage. You may be the first in your family to break a cycle of abuse, to speak a long-buried truth, or to love yourself unconditionally. And even if you cannot explain why, you know that this is why you are here. Because memory is not limited to the brain, it lives in your DNA, in your energy field, in your soul. And when you remember events you never lived, you are not going crazy. You are being activated. You are being shown that you are not small, not separate, not random. You are a continuation of lifetimes, of lineages, of light. And now the patterns are rising for a reason, because you are ready to break them, to rewrite them, to finally complete the story your soul began so long ago. You have never truly fit in. Not in your family, not at school, not in the rigid mold society tried to press around you. And it is not because there is something fundamentally wrong with you. It is because your soul remembers something infinitely more vast. Cayce called this soul displacement, a sensation that arises when a spiritually advanced soul enters a dense, often chaotic world and begins to forget why it came. It is a form of spiritual amnesia. You arrive carrying ancient wisdom, and then you spend years trying to remember who you really are. You do not belong in the shallow waters because you came from the oceanic depths. You do not belong in the noise because your soul is composed of silence. And even if no one else can see it, you feel it, that unspoken holy truth whispering from deep within you, this is not all there is. So you search. You search for meaning in every conversation, in every heartbreak, in every sunrise that makes your chest ache with a beauty you cannot articulate. You have never been satisfied with surface-level answers. You do not care much for gossip, for fleeting trends, for climbing ladders that lead nowhere of substance. You are not here merely to survive, you are here to remember, to awaken. That is why you have always been drawn to the questions that others diligently avoid. Why am I here? What is my soul's true purpose? What exists beyond this physical world? These are not idle curiosities, they are callings from your soul. And even when the world tells you to settle down, to stop dreaming, to play it safe, there is a fire inside you that refuses to be extinguished. It is because you did not come here to fit in.
You came here to light the way.
And somewhere along your path, you began to feel the pull, not just to awaken yourself, but to help others remember too. Maybe you have always found yourself offering profound advice without meaning to. Maybe people are drawn to you with their deepest secrets. Maybe you have discovered that simply by being present, you help others feel more like their authentic selves. You were not trained for this. You did not study for it. It is just in you. Because your soul returned not just to evolve, but to be of service. Cayce taught that the most spiritually evolved souls often return to assist others with their own awakening. They are not above the world, they are woven into its fabric, guiding through compassion, not superiority, healing through example, not ego. You may be a lighthouse and not even realize it, quiet, still, anchored in your own remembering, while others navigate their storms by your light. And even if you have doubted your worth, even if you have questioned your purpose, there is a part of you that knows you came back to help. That is why you feel a magnetic pull towards sacred spaces and spiritual practices. You are drawn to temples, ancient ruins, holy texts, and places that hum with a frequency that transcends time. Maybe it is a cave in the Himalayas, a circle of stones in the British Isles, a mountain in Peru, or a simple grove of ancient trees where the very air feels alive. These are not random attractions, they are activations. Your soul has been to these places before. And when you return, even in this new body, the codes stored in that land begin to awaken parts of you that have long been dormant. It is not just a place, it is a key. And it unlocks something within you that no book ever could. That is why you are also drawn to practices that carry a sense of reverence: meditation, breathwork, ceremony, sound healing, stillness. They feel natural to you, instinctive, as if you are simply picking up where you left off. And perhaps you have never known how to explain any of this. But you do not need to, because the final undeniable sign is this: you know without knowing why. It is not logic. It is not proof. It is a knowing so deep, so silent, so certain that even when you doubt yourself, it remains, like a steady heartbeat in the background of your awareness. You have walked past a stranger and just known they were in pain. You have avoided a certain road without knowing the reason, only to hear of an accident there later. You have met someone and felt either an immediate, profound trust or a visceral, cellular warning. That is not guesswork. That is not intuition in the conventional sense. That is soul memory. Your soul has walked through countless lifetimes, collecting a wisdom that did not come from classrooms. It came from direct experience, from pain, from joy, from lifetimes of trying, failing, remembering, and rising again. Cayce taught that true intuition is not some magical power. It is memory speaking from the soul's vast archives. It is the voice of your higher self, the part of you that never forgot. And if you have ever had those moments where you just know something, even when there is no logical way you could, trust it. And in that remembering, you are reclaiming the wholeness that has always been yours. You are not living your first life, but you are living a sacred one threaded with soul, shaped by purpose, and illuminated by the courage to look inward, to feel instead of dismiss, to trust instead of question, and to listen instead of deny. This is what awakening looks like.
Not lightning in the sky, but a steady light growing in your heart.
The light of a soul that knows you have been here before, and now you are home. That is your soul reaching through the fog of this life, reminding you that you have been here before. And now, you are here again. Not by chance, but by conscious choice. Because your soul is not wandering aimlessly through lifetimes, it is on a sacred journey. Not just through history, but through awakening. Every incarnation is a new step toward remembering the ultimate truth, that you are not separate, that you are not broken, that you are not new. You are part of something timeless. You are energy wrapped in skin, purpose cloaked in form, love remembering itself. And the signs, they have always been there. In your questions, in your dreams, in your ache, in your joy, in every moment you looked up at the stars and whispered to yourself, I know there is more. You were right. There is more. And now, you remember why. The part of you that knows, the part of you that has always known, is awakening. You are not just the child of your parents. You are not just your name, your job, your past, or your pain. You are a soul in motion, not bound by a single story but shaped and polished by many. And every sign you have felt, every stirring, every synchronicity, every question that refused to let you go, has been part of the remembering, a sacred unraveling, a coming home to yourself. And maybe you still carry doubts. That is perfectly okay. The soul does not demand your belief. It simply needs you to be open, to listen, to feel, to follow the threads of recognition when they appear. Because this path is not about finding answers, it is about achieving alignment. And the more you align with the profound truth that lives inside of you, the more you awaken what Cayce called the soul's sacred curriculum. He said that reincarnation is not a punishment. It is not a form of debt collection. It is not a cosmic game of karma keeping score. It is a classroom. Each life is a new lesson. Each challenge is a sacred teacher. Each person you meet is a mirror of something you once were, or something you are in the process of becoming. You are not here to escape this world, you are here to elevate it. And you do that not by trying to become someone else, but by fully and courageously being you. The soul does not demand that you transcend your humanity. It invites you to fill your humanity with your divinity, to live with profound depth, to love with an ancient knowing, and to walk into each day with the quiet, unshakable strength of someone who has fallen, risen, and chosen love again and again. That is what this is, a choice. And right now, you have a chance to make one more. To trust that what you feel is real. To lean into your intuition, to stop waiting for outside validation, and to start honoring the profound wisdom that already lives inside you. Because you have seen the signs, you have felt the pull, you have heard the echoes of lives long gone, and the clear calling of the life you came here to live now. So what comes next is up to you. Before you leave this moment, take time to reflect. Let this be more than just words on a page, let it be a mirror. Which of these signs whispered to you the loudest? Was it the feeling of not belonging? The profound sense of déjà vu? The undeniable knowing that cannot be explained? Sit with it. Write about it. Close your eyes and breathe into it. Because you are not crazy. You are not broken. You are remembering.